told you it'd be easy, didn't I? I said it'd be easy. Don't worry about sitting in the chairs. It's funny when you worry about the smallest things, right? You worry about, everybody worries about the smallest things, and it's going to be harmless. It's going to be awesome. You guys are rock stars. By the way, thank you. I appreciate that. By the way, I just talked to a friend of mine backstage, and I just want you to know that he's very excited about this afternoon and spending time with you. But what I wanted to do before we went in other places today, I wanted to share some more leaders with you. And I wanted to share some insights with you and some of their expertise and some of their skill sets. Because what I tried to do is assemble a panel of people that had professions prior to this, that sometimes you may be a little worried about, how do I call with someone that does that? How do I make a phone call with someone that does that for a living or does that for a living? Did I say the word do's? Did I say that do's that? I did say that, didn't I? That deserves one of these. Anyway, someone that does what you do professionally. So what I'd like to do is, as I give you the microphone, and as I ask you a question, just say who you are, where you come from, and your rank, so that everybody here, they already know you, but that you can officially introduce yourself to everybody. I want you to know how much I appreciate you doing this and sharing your best self with everybody, and how great you are to do this for everyone. And the first question I want you to ask each one of you, and I just want you to pass the microphone down and take a minute to answer it, is where were you in your life? What were you doing professionally in your life when you saw Nerium, and why were you open to Nerium as a business?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Elston, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee, but I started my business in Evansville, Indiana, if there's anybody from Evansville, Indiana. And I'm a 3-star national marketing director. And when I first heard about Nerium, I was practicing law. I was a partner in a law firm. I did business and real estate law. I actually practiced for 10 years. And it was a time in my life where shortly before Nerium came into my life, I can remember talking to my husband and saying, I gotta find something else. I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna have a heart attack by the time I'm 40, because I argue with people, because I also have 4 children, right? So I argue with people from the time I wake up in the morning until I go to bed at night. And so it was time freedom. It was freedom from that, and it was the what if that kept me awake at night. What if?
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Rhanda Carlisle from Evansville, Indiana. And I'm a 3-star national marketing director. My background is in television news, but more recently pharmaceutical and vaccine specialty sales. And when I got into this business, I was actually very closed-minded, and I really wanted nothing to do with it, but I liked the way the products made my skin feel, and it was actually my husband's idea. Can you believe he had a good idea? And he was right for once. And I always say, though, it was God's plan and not mine, because I was totally closed-minded to it. Even though I was in sales, I wanted nothing to do with sales. So I had no idea what was in store for me or for all of you, but I'm just really grateful that I was open to the opportunity, and I let the ego I could have had with having sales experience go out the door so we could all rock it together.
Hello, my name is Helmut Rauch. I'm from Austria. I'm a 1-star national marketing director, and my professional background is we have a digital printing company over the last 22 years, and what we not have is time, and I'm always looking for opportunities to live a better life. And 3.5 years ago, we were introduced for Nerium, and I saw its sales figures and the philosophy, and it was mind-blowing. And for me, I think it was the opportunity for my life I'm looking for, the one-time chance in my life. So I'm open for this.
Hello, my name is Carol Kline.
and I'm a one-star national marketing director with Nerium. I am a New York Times, a #1 New York Times best-selling author. I wrote 6 of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books in that series, and I wrote with motivational speakers and transformational thought leaders as their co-author, their ghostwriter, or their editor for 20 years. So I was particularly open as a person that studies personal development. I was always looking for multiple streams of income. I had raised my children on that. So when I heard about this, I thought, great, this could be another stream of income. I didn't think much about it. If it works, everybody's going to want it. So I didn't realize that that stream of income would turn into a river of income.
Hi, I'm Kim Maines. Pretty much, I'm just like Carol Kline right here. No, I'm from Evansville, Indiana as well. So representing over here. I'm a 2-star national marketing director. What's the question, Bo?
It's okay. What did you do prior?
Just kidding. Okay, so I got into this business not to do the business. I was just like, what is the cheapest way to get this product? And I think there's a lesson to be learned in how I got started without trying it. I was given the options to purchase as a customer or buy the business kit. So I just was like, okay, I'll buy the business kit. And at the time I waited tables for like 10 years. And then I got a real job in an office. Like, think about that movie, is it called Office Space? That's where I worked. Anyway, so someone literally asked me if I moved their chair. I was like, I didn't move your chair. Anyway, I didn't like it. And I was like, I have a bachelor's degree. Is this really my life? I had gotten married and then had kids, like, in the right order. Like, I feel like I was like doing everything on paper my mom would want me to do. And I was like, this can't be my life. And then it was like punching the 9 to 5, missing out on my own kids. And then after I had joined Nerium, that's when I was using the products and I was like, wow, this is the ticket. And here we are.
Now, I have to say, Kim, I didn't see this coming.
I know.
You saw it coming. I didn't see it coming, but I love the fact that it's here. So that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, here's what I want to know. So you were approached by someone. Take what you did professionally. Take the responsibilities you had professionally. What's the best way to approach someone that does what you did for a living? What words are some of the hot button words that may be the best words to use? And Kim, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so I go into this thinking that everyone is just like me. Everyone is the same. We all have the same thoughts, opinions, wants. And so what's the question again?
So what are the best words to use to talk to somebody that does what you do?
They're thinking everything that we were thinking, like, what is this for real? Can I do that? Is that going to be worth it for me? And people really just want to know, is this going to make my life easier? Is this going to make my life better? Or is this going to make or save me money? So when you're talking to someone, you can work in those answers to those questions, then you'll just be ticking off the boxes for them.
Thank you.
So I'm going to extrapolate to all arts. So I'm a writer, but if you talk to writers or artists or dancers or anybody who wants to make a living through creativity, I tell them that this is a way to underwrite it. What if you could have money coming in and do your art? And most people have to wait tables if they're actors, that whole cliche. And I just say, what if you could make money? It's not your passion. Your passion is whatever your art is. But what if you could underwrite it? What if you could, instead of trying to monetize it, make money with your art? What if you could underwrite it and just do it from a place of total freedom? And that really hits the button for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's always a good idea to talk with people about what if and to listen to them. And I think it's always a good idea to talk about life quality in general. So one of my favorite words is to say, I'm lucky I got the chance to work with one of the fastest growing companies in the world to bring the best anti-aging products around the world and to help people live a better life. And then I only have to wait for their reaction. And if they got, what you say? You can say, okay, let's sit down for a coffee in the next couple of times and maybe eat something for you as well. And that's all. Thank you.
So, I don't know about you guys, but my parents always taught me to treat a janitor the same as you would treat a CEO, okay? And so here's the thing, a janitor and a CEO, they all want the same thing. Nobody wants to be uglier, okay? Nobody wants to make less money, and I don't care who you are, whether you make a lot of money or not, you're looking for an opportunity. So in pharmaceutical sales, it's a good position. I constantly have people coming to me, can you help me get an interview to be on your team? Somebody had to die, get promoted, or get fired for someone to get a position like this. I just feel awfully blessed that I have something in my hip pocket that I can offer anyone. And I can tell you, a lot of times people think, oh, I got a doctor, or I got a pharmaceutical rep, or I got a lawyer. Okay, just because they're that certain profession doesn't mean they're gonna be any better than stay-at-home mom, a gym owner, a police officer, a firefighter, okay? So what you're really looking for is having a heart for others to help them find out what they want out of it and go from there. Don't worry about what they do.
Do I need to even talk now? That was really good. Yeah, you boomed yourself. All right. For somebody like me, it's not necessarily even a lawyer. I would just say I'm a pretty logical person. I look for trust. I look for integrity. And so I wouldn't have, if Jen Gibbons had come at me with a rah-rah, I'm going to change your whole life kind of story, I would have backed away and shied away from it. But what I was looking for, and you have to understand, I saw my kids during the week about an hour and a half a day. So what appeals to me is freedom, an exit strategy, and residual income, because lawyers have no residual income. And as a partner, I had no retirement. I had to create that myself, probably worked till I was 80, so I had no plan for that. So if you look for those, if you listen to people, and anybody who had known me or listened to me or knew my personality, and you want that excitement factor too, but always listen to what's missing, because from the outside it looked like I had everything, but I really was absolutely miserable. And to use words like exit strategy and time freedom and that kind of opportunity was everything for me.
You know what's interesting? Thank you. But what's really interesting is some of these professions live on your chicken list. Right? Some of these professions live on your chicken list. Some of these professions, I mean, what is somebody that's already in pharmaceutical sales or was a TV anchor or was an attorney or an entrepreneur or a best-selling author, I mean, or ran a call center. I mean, some of these people are people I'm nervous about calling. And what you've heard every one of them do is not discount the respect they have for what they did, but what they're trying to tell you is, I'm like everybody else. I have the same heart of dreams and desires and just like everybody else. My circumstances were different, but I wanted the similar things that everybody else wants. And so if you can connect with that, here's something I do want to ask you though, because depending on what you do professionally, you're in an environment where you kind of wear the armor and the suit of what you do. And it's like a lot of times you talk to somebody, when you get behind the facade of what they do professionally and you get to who they really are, you go, wow, they're really cool. Because you get through that facade of what they wear every day. But for you and what you did professionally moving into this, what were some of the personal obstacles that you had to overcome stepping out of that environment into this environment at a real results party or a market party or going to an event? What are some of the personal obstacles you had to overcome to make that transition?
For me, I have two. Am I allowed to say two? So my innate personality obstacle is not to overanalyze and to just trust the process and see what we have here and trust that nobody has a crazy angle on things. And one of the things I'm pretty good at is reading people, and I have this gut feeling all the time that we're in the right place at the right time. You worry about that judgment, you worry about what other people are going to think about you, but again, like Alicia said yesterday, they're not paying my bills with their opinions. And so I had to worry a bit that my partners and that my clients were going to say, what is she doing? But that was the wrong thing, because then I had people come up to me later and say, had I known you were selling Nerium, I would have bought it from you. Or I would have joined your team, and I had prejudged those people. And the other thing is just time. Time was an obstacle for me. I didn't have an abundance of time. And one thing to remember going forward, because you're gonna make the time excuse over and over again, you're gonna hear it over and over again. We all have time. It's whether or not you wanna make time that's the difference. And if it's not a priority for you to make the time, that's one thing. But you can find the time to better your life, and you can find the time to change the lives of other people if you really want to.
All right, so just to kind of piggyback off what she said, I pretty much feel the same way. One thing is you're going to have a lot of judgment maybe from people saying, you know, why are you doing this? My recommendation would be to pray for boldness and to be able to stand up to people with grace. I always thought that maybe I shouldn't stand up to people, but if you do it with grace and confidence, so if you're just getting your business started, come out of the gate with a lot of confidence. And then another obstacle for me, and all of you, I guarantee every single person in this room has thought they didn't have time to work this business. When I got started, I was working 65 hours a week. I had a very large territory. I was a vaccine specialty rep and had all of Western Kentucky to cover. My kids were 2 and 4, and I had 2 overnights a week, and my husband's a police officer. God bless our police officers. They work crazy schedules. And it wasn't an option, you know, for me to not make this work. And I'll never forget dropping my son off at our church daycare before I drove to Paducah, Kentucky. And he said to me, Mom, why am the only one who never has show and tell? Whew, laugh at me because I'm about to cry. And I was like, what's the letter? He said, it's T. And so I pulled out a receipt out of my pocket, probably from Target because I forgot to put shoes on him again. And I wadded it up and I gave it to him and I said, talk about trash today, the letter's T. And so it was at that moment I was like, I have to make a change. I have to make this work. And I cried all the way that 2-hour drive to Paducah, Kentucky. It was kind of a turning point for me to realize time is not an excuse. Your kids are your reason if you have children. Your family's your reason. Whatever your reason is, think of it in your head right now and do not make that become an excuse.
So, for me it was easy. I'm a simple guy. I don't think about this. We heard 3.5 years before, 3 years before Nerium came to Europe about, and our biggest thing was to inspire persons without support from Nerium, without trainings, without tools, without products, and no earning money over 3 years to believe on their dreams and to believe Nerium can be the chance to change their lives. So we did whatever it takes. We flew 4 times before this convention, 2 conventions, to bring the spirit from here to our people at home. And we do their revivals, and we did whatever it takes to make it real. And you guys, you have all this stuff, and it's on us to create momentum. We are all Nerium.
So I wrote nonfiction, and I analyzed a lot, I did a lot of research. I was an expert, and that really didn't serve me in Nerium at all, because I could tell you everything about the product. I could wax lyrical about the science, and I got a lot of customers, but everybody said, I can't do what you do. So that thing about spare me your brilliance, that really applied to me. So I had to just really realize I was the messenger. I was just pointing. I was just an usher, like, oh, check it out. And I'm a serious person. So that whole thing was difficult for me. But now, it's freeing. That's the whole point. It's so freeing just to recommend something and not have to be the expert.
Thank you.
There were a lot of things that were really hard for me coming into Nerium, and I could have said the whole I don't have time thing, but I realized Nerium doesn't take a lot of time. It's like a minute here, a minute there, standing in line at the grocery store. Instead of getting upset that you're 3 people deep, you just pull out your phone and make good use of your time. The 2 hours in the evening that I would try to fit in TV after the kids went to bed, I turned off the TV to try to build the life that I wanted instead of watching other people have what I wanted. That was huge.
Thank you. Last question, and I think one of the things that we want people to always do is look for transferable skill sets. The reason I talked earlier about the teacher, I'm looking for transferable skill sets. If somebody's a bricklayer, what are the order, when you just think about the process of what you do as a bricklayer, or whatever you do for a living, as an attorney, as a CPA, numbers, and you understand how to dissect things. What are transferable skill sets that you can take out of what you've done professionally? Whether you're a mom or a dad, as an organizer, as doing all of the jobs that are required to make that part of your life successful, what are the transferable skill sets that you can extract from that and place into this? When you look at what you did professionally, what would you say were just did real quickly, what were the transferable skill sets that you brought from that to this?
Both waiting tables, which is like every one of us goes out to eat, so there's your first next 10 prospects, but them, and when I was in my corporate job, being able to talk to people and treat them like just an old friend and not just someone new, because people want to be listened to, paid attention to, and just open up and be friendly, and I think that is super helpful.
Thank you.
And it's more fun in life.
Writers like stories. I'm insatiably curious about every person I meet. That transfers really well when you want to help people. So helping people, insatiable curiosity, and persistence through difficulty, through challenge, through learning curves. It is hard to write a book, to really take what you are trying to say and get it to make sense to somebody else. So really sticking with things.
I think the most important skill is entrepreneurship. So if you're self-employed, no one tells you when you have to do what you have to do, and you have to see Nerium as a real business. And if you see this as a real business, you work as a real business. And I think set goals, dream big, and do whatever it takes. And this is the most important thing for me.
Thank you.
Saying everything happens for a reason. I say everything happens for the reason that you give it. So you think about all the different jobs you had, or relationships, things that are good or bad. I think that's kind of all prepared me personally. I'm sure you could say the same thing for the opportunity we've been given here at Nerium, whether it was when I was a TV reporter and people slammed doors in my face and I would go into the news car and cry to the photographer, or going into doctors' offices who weren't always the friendliest. Sorry doctors, I love you, you're great. But it was definitely a learning process to being told no, and so having that courage and developing those relationships and not getting offended. People who are constantly offended have an ego problem, right? So make sure you're not offended when somebody says no. Maybe it's no, not right now, and you just keep going and caring for others and keep that pep in your step and just keep it up.
My introvertedness has really helped me in this position. You guys know that I am an introvert, and anybody can do this business, but some other skills that I had, my ability to read people and meet them where they are, because I can read body language, feelings, how they're feeling about something, listen to them. Listening is huge in this because we want so much for other people, and we have to hold ourselves back from wanting it for them more than they want it for them. And so I probably already had some of that skill set of being able to read people, listen to what it is that they need and want, but meet them where they're at in that. And also, I think, grit. Because it wasn't an easy road to get to where I was. And I could have quit many, many times and given up. And it's just not in my DNA to do that. And even more so probably than my profession was the adoption of my 3 children. Because that taught me to have faith at the end of a process when you can't see the final destination. You don't know what's going to happen. You have absolutely no idea if you're going to have a baby in your arms at the end of that or not. And we did it 3 times, and some of my most amazing brand partners also I met through adoption. And they have that same grit and determination and just faith that what they're doing is going to pay off.
Thank you. I mean, thank you. Just, I gotta tell you that it's helpful, right? I mean, just knowing, just hearing different walks of life and different professions share what they've been through, what they see, what they believe with you can't help but arm you with more information to become better and to become more knowledgeable and to become more relatable and get everyone off your chicken list. Stop worrying about people. They're no different than you. They may do something differently than you. They may make less or more than you do. It doesn't really matter. They're people with heartbeats and hopes and dreams and desires and fears and inhibitions. And you share the dream and you share the future, and sometimes you have to share it practically. Sometimes you can share more ethereally. Just sometimes you can do this differently. But I just want to say this to y'all personally. Y'all forgive me for 1 minute. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, thank you for caring, and thank you for loving everyone out here. God bless you guys. Thank you.